So the concepts of headcount. So the headcount is you can discuss the headcount in divided into three categories, right?
Yeah.
Permanent headcount, casual headcount, and contract. So what are permanent?
Permanent full-time staff.
Permanent are full-time staff which you have a contract which is not ending by contract itself.
Yes.
So by you are hiring the staff to be your staff, not 6 months. Let's say you because that one is contract staff.
Yeah.
So in Myanmar we have two different type of contracts, right? One type of contract says it doesn't give you the end date. It just give you, okay, you are my employee, you're gonna be working for me, and then if I am not happy with you, then I will give you a 2 month notice, 3 month notice as per the labor law, and then we'll settle your dues. Another type of contract is we hire a fixed period contract, right? Maybe we hire 1 year contract, 6 month contract, 3 month contract, which again you can cancel before the expiry again. But you need to follow certain procedures, right? You need to give 1 month notice, or maybe you give first warning, second warning, third warning, and then finally get rid of them. But in Myanmar, you need to be careful because the labor law are not very defined in the sense that it protects the labor. You cannot just fire the labor person like this very easily, right? And then you have casuals. Casual means you just hire them for a specific purpose, for a day or for 2 days or for 3 days, less than a month. But you don't give a contract. You don't tell them I will hire you for 1 month, and their salary is per day.
Yeah.
Right? So how much is the salary here per day minimum?
Roughly 8,000 to 10,000 degree.
No, the labor law defines the salary to be around how much, sir?
4,800.
4,800 per day, per working day, right? That is the minimum salary which is defined by the government. So that is but like for example, so normally we multiply by 13 because after every 6 days you need to give 1 day leave by labor law. So means you need to pay for 6 days or 7 days, but they will work for six. So if you hire somebody on a monthly basis, you need to pay around 1,44,000 charge per month. Right? That's the minimum salary. So the head count and the permanent casual, everyone has to follow the minimum wage. But usually casual labor, you are hiring the person which are non-skilled. So which one you hire as a permanent? The important staff which is very important for you to be for your organizational policy, confidential matters, the person who are handling the money, the strategy, those people are likely to be more permanent. The contract staff will be the skilled staff, but you don't need them for a very long period of time. You need them only for a specific purpose. The casual staff are non-skilled people, where you can replace it easily. Like today you have somebody, tomorrow you may have somebody else. For example, in the service, you can hire waiters as a casual, or in the kitchen, you can hire helpers as a casual, right? Or in banquet, you can hire the hard labor as a casual. So those are the casual labor. Okay. So what is now? This is a head count. So what is the meaning of full-time equivalent? Have you ever heard of this term full-time equivalent, or called FTE in short? This is very famous term in the labor productivity called FTEs. It's a very recent, not very old term. It's a very recent term. So the FTE means let's say your job is supposed to be for 8 hours, right? But you work for 12, and you pay overtime. So how many people even though you hire only one person, but you pay salary equal to 1.5%. 8 hours for his normal duty and 4 hours for his overtime duty. So you paid him 10,000. Normally you're supposed to pay 10,000, but you pay him 15. But you cannot say I hire one person, but because you hire 1.5 people, you pay equal to 1.5. So full-time equivalent means your normal standard. If let's say a full-time, if you have a standard of working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that becomes 160 hours a month. So if somebody work for 160 hours, he is one person. If he work for half, so means you will pay half. So even though you have one person, but he work only equal to half people's salary. half people job, right? So that's why we will use this term full-time equivalent mostly. Whenever we are calculating the labor productivity or we are talking about the headcount, we don't talk about the full-time headcounts. We talk about the FTEs. Because, for example, casual, when you are reporting the number of people in your organization, you never include casual people because they are just for a day or 2 days or 3 days. But they are doing a job. So whenever we are comparing, we convert them into a full-time head count. How much people would have been working for this job if we hire them? We will look at in the detail in the examples. Okay. Here is the calculation. So the calculations goes like this. So let's say we have 30 people. Sorry. Yeah. Let's say we have 30 people here. Right. So they work for 30 days. So total man days worked is 900. But now some people are absent. So let's say 7 people, 7 days. Out of 30 people, 7 people didn't come for 1 day each. So 7 man days are not coming. And then you have weekly off. Everybody get weekly off. Only 28 people take weekly off. We are assuming. And then some people take annual leave. So 30 people take annual leave. And then somebody will take compensatory. So total people who did not come to work was for 113 days, man days. And then you hire some people because most of people are going on leave. So you hire additional people. You pay overtime, you pay weekly work on day off, you ask the contract staff, you hire casual staff. So in total you hired extra 62 days. So the people who work is 900 minus 113 plus 62. So total net working days were 849. Now how many working days we have in a month? So we are assuming we have only 22 days work. So Saturday, Sunday is off. Monday to Friday is working. So 8 days. 8 days are off. So only 22 days are working. So how much FTE is? So we divide number of working days from 22. Number of working days. Then it becomes 39. So even though we hire 30 people in our payroll, actual people who work equivalent to the full time are 39. The reason why they are higher is one person is because of the casual, some people are higher because of casual staff, contract staff, and then the people who are going on leave. Right? So this is how we calculate the FTEs. Okay. Then you have organization structures. So what kind of organization structure we have? So we may have a flat organization structure, means there is one person managing all the peoples. So it's flat, right? And then you have hierarchy, means one person, he is managing 2 peoples, and then those 2 peoples are managing another 4 peoples, and those 4 peoples managing other 10 peoples. So you are going step by step. And then you have mixed. So it's not completely fair like that. So one person is managing another person is managing another person, or they are working together. So it's a complex structure. It's not defined like a serious one person managing all or one person managing 2, and then, but this complex means they are managing each other also can, right? So now in hospitality normally we have a hierarchy structure. So one GM, then you have one RM, and then we have division heads, and then you have supervisors. Supervisors manage the staff, right? So we have hierarchy based structure. There is no wrong or no right organization structure. It all depends on the organizational preference, how they want to work together. And then there is a concept called zero-based manning. So have you heard of concept of zero-based budgeting? No. Okay. The zero-based budgeting is also very recent, not very used term. It's quite unused term, but it's useful in financial budget. So the zero-based manning is coming from zero-based budget. So the meaning of zero-based manning is, we will assume that we have no activity, or maybe we have minimum number of guests, let's say 10 guests. So we will assume, okay, how many people we need to serve these 10 guests? maybe we need 2 people. So for every additional person, do we need to hire any guest? Or additional activity, do we need to hire a guest? So hire a staff. So in this zero-based manning, we are asking whatever activity we are doing, are we need to hire a new person or not? Or why we need to hire this person? What they will do from the basic structure? Not just because normally what happens in the organization is they have a fixed organization chart. They have a vacancy. So whenever they do the budget, they want to fill up the vacancy, right? Without thinking that what this person will do or how we are going, how we are managing now without this person. So why we need to hire? Do we have a new business, or do we have increased productivity, or what are the reasons why we need to hire? So we will look into the zero-based manning in more details now. So zero-based manning is, we are discussing, but it doesn't mean that we will hire no employee. We still need to hire the employees, because every hotel has a standard, right? We have a brand standards. In every hotel, we have different type of standards. Some hotels require, or sometimes everybody to stay in, one person to stand around in the lobby, for example. Just do nothing, just greet the guest. That is the brand standard of that particular hotel. So it doesn't mean that they are not doing anything. They are greeting the people. So there is no visible productivity for them. So first step is, we need to define the brand standards. What are our minimum standards that we need to maintain? We need to hire a GRO. We need to hire a GSC. We need to hire maybe one receptionist who will be there at the reception at all the time. No matter what, no matter we have a guest or we don't have a guest, right? We will have a hostess. Let's say for example of a restaurant, we will have a hostess. Hostess will not bring the guest to the table. Hostess is there just to greet the people. There is another hostess, or you can say leader, escort, who will bring the guest to the table. So that's a very high standard restaurant, right? We are talking about the highest standard restaurant. One person is greeting, another person is bringing the guest to the table, and then there is somebody else who is asking who is taking the order, and that person is taking the order only. Somebody else is bringing the food from kitchen, right? And then somebody else is cleaning the table. So for one guest, we need 5 people. But for 2 guests also, we need the 5 people. For 3 guests also, we need the 5 people. For 4 guests, 5 guests, 10 guests, until we can manage. So means that if there are 100 guests, we still need 1 hostess only. We may need extra escorts, because one person is, the guests will keep on coming. We may need more people to take the order. We may need more people to bring the food. We may need more people to clean the table, right? But the increase of manning depends on the activity, how much activity we are increasing. So that is, we cover under zero-based manning. So we divide the labor into different segments based on their activity, based on their task. So the first step to do the zero-based manning is to identify those activities, to identify your brand standards. What is you are required to perform at a minimum level, and then from there you see, okay, if my occupancy is, I am going to serve 100 guests, how much people I need? If I am going to serve 50 people, how much people I need? Right? And then this is based on your productivity standards. So how many guests we are allowing 1 people to serve? You can ask 1 people to serve 10 guests, and you can ask 1 people to serve 15 guests also. You can ask 1 people to serve 20 guests also. You can. The person can also. But then the level of quality, the level of the service attention will reduce. The one person is handling 10 guests or 20 guests is entirely different, right? So that the people will get less attention from the same person. So the first step is to define what kind of brand standards or what kind of productivity level we want to achieve in the organization. Okay. Then it assumes the minimum level of activity that we have discussed, and then the focus is to identify the activities that the organization must do at a minimum, and then which one can be combined. So let's say, for example, can we combine the person who is taking the order and the person who is bringing the food from the kitchen? It can be the same person. For a less activity, maybe less number of guests, you can combine the job. and the person who clean the table also can be the same person. So it's not necessary. Maybe the person who is escorting the guest can be the cleaner as well. So how many people, how many jobs we can combine together? Yeah. And then how many people, then the next step is to identify how many people will be required to carry out those activities based on the productivity standards. And then the more important thing is the past budget or your past strengths, past history of how many people I used to carry, how many people I used to hire. That's a normal excuse from the operations department or from from the operations department. I used to have 10 people. Now 2 people are resigned. So now I need to hire another 2. But that is not an excuse. So you need to ask them, okay, tell me what you are going to do with these people. How is it going to affect? Can you combine some activities? Can you do because zero-based budgeting and manning is actually very difficult to achieve. And it's a very time-consuming thing. Because first thing you need to identify the productivity standards, the brand standards, how many people you need to hire, how many people you already have, and then you can decide. But there are 4-5 steps to go. And as a HR or as one person, you cannot decide all the one things by yourself, right? You need to have your GM or operation manager to sit down with you, or you need to have your owners to agree to those standards. But this is not very easy, and it's a very time-consuming exercise. So if it's a running organization, if it's a new organization, you can spend your time. But if it's a running organization, then you need to be able to justify any new requirements. Let's say somebody is resigned, new person is coming. Those person you can assess based on your standards, based on your zero-based manning standards. So you can start to do the slowly how we are going to do the zero-based manning, how we are going to achieve the standards. Okay, so I didn't give the format of zero-based manning because it all depend on the individual organization's structure. But the basic idea is to divide the job into the activities, and then those activities based on the productivity standards of the organization. Okay, then we have this was the headcount compensation, and